Money is the most powerful system in modern life. It shapes where you live, how you work, what you can afford, and how much freedom you actually have. But most people are never taught how this system really works. They're taught to work for money, to save what's left over, and to hope it somehow works out. In this channel, we explain how money actually works, how wealth is really built, and how the economic systems around you quietly shape your financial future, whether you understand them or not. This is Capital Explained. Most people think building wealth is just about saving money. But saving alone won't make you rich. It only prevents you from getting poorer. Saving is defensive. It protects you from emergencies. It gives you stability. It gives you breathing room. But it does not, by itself, create meaningful wealth. If you want to actually build wealth, you need to understand how money grows, how ownership works, and how investing turns time into a multiplier. In this video, we're going to break the entire process down from first principles. Not with hype. Not with shortcuts. But with a clear, realistic, step-by-step framework that explains how real wealth is actually built over decades. Let's start with the biggest misunderstanding most people have. Saving money feels productive. You work, you earn, you put some aside, and your bank balance slowly goes up. That feels like progress. But in reality, saving mostly just freezes your financial position in place. Imagine you earn $50,000 a year and manage to save 20% of it. That's $10,000 per year. That's disciplined. That's better than most people. And if you put it in a savings account earning 3% interest, after 10 years you'll have a little over $110,000. On paper, that sounds decent. But now factor in inflation. If prices rise at 5% per year, which is not unusual historically, your money is losing purchasing power every single year. Even though the number in your account is going up, what that money can actually buy is going down. In other words, your savings are running just to stay in place. This is the hidden tax almost nobody thinks about. Inflation quietly eats cash. It doesn't feel dramatic. It doesn't crash. It just slowly, steadily makes stored money worth less. So saving is necessary. But it's not sufficient. Saving protects you from going backwards. It does not move you meaningfully forward. Real wealth comes from something else entirely. Real wealth comes from ownership. If you look at how wealthy people actually make their money, it's rarely from salaries and wages. It's from owning things that produce value. Businesses, stocks, real estate, productive land, intellectual property, entire systems that generate cash flow or grow in value while they sleep. Ownership is the dividing line between working for money and having money work for you. When you own an asset, you are entitled to a share of what that asset produces. If you own a piece of a business, you receive a share of its profits. If you own property, you receive rent or appreciation. If you own stocks, you benefit from the growth of the companies behind them. And critically, you don't have to personally put in more hours for that growth to happen. For example, historically, a diversified stock index has returned around 7 to 10% per year after inflation over long periods of time. That means if you invest $10,000 and do absolutely nothing else, over 20 years that could realistically turn into $40,000 to $60,000 purely through growth. Not because you worked more. Not because you saved more. But because you owned productive assets. Contrast that with keeping $10,000 in cash. Over 20 years, inflation quietly destroys a large portion of its real value. Cash is not an asset that grows. It is a tool. It is a medium of exchange. And over long periods of time, it is a wasting asset. This is why the wealthy don't hold their wealth in cash. They hold it in things. And this brings us to the most powerful force in investing. Compounding. Compounding is what happens when your money starts earning money, and then that money starts earning money too. At first, it feels slow. Almost disappointingly slow. Let's say you invest $10,000 at 8% per year. After 1 year, you have $10,800. That's only $800. Not life-changing. But in year 2, you don't earn 8% on $10,000 anymore. You earn it on $10,800. Now the growth is bigger. And in year 3, it's bigger again. The numbers still look modest in the beginning. But something very important is happening under the surface. The growth rate stays the same. But the base it's applied to keeps getting larger. This is why compounding is not linear. It's exponential. Most of the gains come much later. In fact, in a typical long-term investment journey, the majority of the wealth is created in the final third of the time period, not the first. This is also why time is more important than almost anything else. The earlier you start, the more years your money has to stack growth on top of growth. Even small amounts invested early can outperform much larger amounts invested late. This is not motivational advice. It's math. But compounding only works if you let it work. Which means not constantly pulling money out. Not panicking in downturns. Not interrupting the process. And that brings us to risk. All investing involves risk. There is no such thing as a high return without uncertainty. But there is a massive difference between intelligent risk and reckless risk. Risk is not just about how much something can go up. It's about how much it can go down, how likely that is, and what happens to you if it does. Imagine 2 investors. The first puts $50,000 into a single startup company. If it succeeds, they might make a lot of money. But if it fails, which most startups do, they lose almost everything. The second spreads that same $50,000 across hundreds of companies using index funds, plus some bonds, maybe some real estate, maybe even a small private business. If one company fails, it barely matters. The system continues. This is diversification. Diversification does not eliminate risk. But it makes risk survivable. And survival is the first rule of compounding. You don't need to hit home runs. You need to avoid catastrophic mistakes. Most people don't fail at investing because they were too conservative. They fail because they concentrated too much, chased hype, or took risks they didn't understand. The goal is not to get rich quickly. The goal is to stay in the game long enough for compounding to do its work. So how do you actually apply this in real life? Step 1 is not investing. Step 1 is control. You need to know exactly how much money comes in, how much goes out, and where it goes. If you don't have clarity, you don't have control. And if you don't have control, you can't build a system. Step 2 is eliminating high-interest debt. Credit cards and consumer loans often charge interest rates higher than what you can reasonably expect to earn in markets. Paying off a 20% interest rate is a guaranteed return. Investing is not. Step 3 is building a true emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of living expenses in cash. Not to grow. To protect you from being forced to sell investments at the worst possible time. Step 4 is where investing finally begins. This is where you start systematically buying ownership assets. For most people, this means low-cost diversified index funds. For some, it may include real estate. For a few, it may include building businesses. The specific vehicle matters less than the principle. You are converting earned money into owned systems. Step 5 is reinvesting everything. Dividends. Profits. Gains. Not because you're not allowed to enjoy your money, but because the early years of compounding are the most fragile and the most important. Step 6 is periodic review and adjustment. Not daily. Not emotionally. But strategically. As your life changes, your goals change, and your risk tolerance changes. And over time, something very unintuitive happens. Your investments start growing more in a year than you can save from your job. That is the crossover point. That is when wealth starts to feel real. Now, there are some common mistakes that stop people before they ever get there. The first is believing that saving alone is enough. The second is chasing shortcuts. Speculation. Hype. Things they don't understand. The third is ignoring taxes and fees. A 1 or 2% fee difference over 30 years can erase a shocking amount of wealth. And the fourth is waiting for the right time to start. The right time is almost always in the past. The second best time is now. Finally, this all requires the right mindset. Wealth is not built through intensity. It's built through consistency. It's not built through brilliance. It's built through systems. Think of money like a growing machine. Saving is fueling the machine. Investing is building the machine. Compounding is letting it run. If you only save, you never build the machine. If you only speculate, you keep breaking it. Real wealth is the slow, boring, mathematical result of owning productive assets for a very long time. That's how investing actually works. And that's how normal people quietly become wealthy. If you want to understand how money really works, not just how to use it, but how the entire system around it actually functions, then this channel is for you. Here on Capital Explained, we break down how money works, how wealth is built, and how the economic rules of the world really operate beneath the surface. If you want more clear, honest explanations like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It helps the channel grow, and it lets me keep making videos like this. Thanks for watching.